Let's take a look at the AMD65. We've got a parts kit here, as well as a rifle and some other things, so we can take a good look at it and compare it and contrast it to some of the other Kalashnikovs that are out there. So to begin with, it's a Hungarian Kalashnikov. To put it in perspective, they started out in the 50s with the milled receiver AK copies, really, of the Russians. Then when they switched over to the AKM, they made a rifle that from the front back looked a lot like the Russian AKM. This is a Hungarian AKM front end, but the back end had a different style pistol grip. And we can see that here on this AMD65 that we've got dolled up in the pistol grips, the wooden pistol grips that the AK63 or later the AKM M63 had. So the AK63 was just their this one, the AKM. Then they made a version with the non-standard forearm with the ventilated metal lower handguard, the no handguard at all on top, and then they used one of their pistol grips inverted as a vert grip up front. That was the AKM M63. Then when they came out with the folding stock version of that rifle, they called it the AMD65, and they went from these wooden grips to these polymer grips. And you can see they're basically the same shape, just in a polymer. So that's where we get the AMD65, and that's basically what this rifle is because it has the folding stock, but I've got the wooden grips on it from that AKM M63 just because I think it looks cool. So the AMD65 is an AKM folded sheet metal receiver. It has a unique stock, it has a unique fore end, and then it has a unique barrel length. This one is made here in the US from a parts kit, and it has a muzzle device which brings the barrel length out to the needed 16 inches. We'll take a look at the barrel length on a real AKM here in a minute. So we'll use this one for reference, but we'll mostly take a look at the kit, because the kit is basically a real AKM or AMD65 that was chopped up into pieces and then sent over here as either replacement parts or to build up a semi-auto rifle like we did with this one. So looking at the AMD65 compared to other Kalashnikovs, we have to start from one end. Let's start from the stock. So it's got a unique stock. You can see here that it's basically just this piece of rubber kind of welded onto or fit onto a piece of bar, a solid metal bar that goes into the trunnion, which has a button at the bottom here. This is the way it's oriented on the rifle, and it's pretty tough to just move this by itself, so I'm going to grab the rifle again. And we can see that the button is underneath. When you push it up, this tooth goes out of the way. It allows it to pivot inside the trunnion, and it opens up into place. Now, as far as stocks go, this one's kind of in the middle, I guess. Most people that like a cheek weld hate this stock. Most people that like the stock to be kind of strong and functional are not going to like this stock. But those that like the stock to disappear, to fold up along with the gun and just kind of disappear this way and this way, still giving you full control of the trigger, the selector, and the charging handle, no matter how you're doing it. This is one of my favorite stocks for kind of just disappearing in with the gun. But again, if you're into having a cheek weld, you're not going to get it with the AMD65. It comes down from the receiver, and it's just a bar. It's fairly strong for what it is. There's no play at all, and even though it's just all incorporated into the trunnion, it's very solid, very well made. Even kind of beat up ones that I've seen, the teeth get a little bit chewed up here, so it gets a little sloppy. In this position, it gets a little sloppy, but they're very strong design. So the stock folds to the right, meaning you can still have the optics rail, and I think some Hungarians have that right away, but it also means that the receiver's got to be cut accordingly. So when you're building an AMD65, or if you're thinking about installing an AMD65 onto your existing Kalashnikov, it requires a notch cut out of the rear receiver, as well as a different pattern for your rear trunnion holes. So this is more of a standard European style AKM receiver, and you can see that it's the channel and everything, but the trunnion holes, this is the selector hole, The trunnion holes are usually in that pattern for a European. That like tang that comes up to the top here, slides in over the rails and comes to the top so that the stock has somewhere to attach. It just uses these two rivets typically, where on an AMD you've got the notch taken out to allow for the stock to swing, of course, but the two rivets go straight through, and one top and one at the bottom. So you'll need either to get a specific AMD65 receiver like this one, or be prepared to cut different holes, and then of course drill a hole in the bottom for the button. Now I believe on this one, this was not an AMD65 receiver, so you can see the remaining hole there. I guess I was able to use that one, but this hole is just left wide open because this receiver was more the standard European trunnion, and it just left that hole. I could have run a rivet through there to fill it up, but I just drilled the hole at the bottom and cut it out. It's actually not too difficult to cut out because you can slide it in there and then use the trunnion. It's very solid as a template to cut it out. But coming forward, the rest of the receiver is basically the same as any AKM receiver. The dust cover, the recoil spring, the bolt carrier, and the bolt, as far as I'm aware, they're pretty much the same. The gas piston is probably a little shorter, and we'll take a look at that in a second here. As we mentioned, the pistol grip is quite a bit different. Even the wooden AMD63 grips used standard screws, so the regular screwdriver will work. But with the AMD65, the grip is basically hollow with a little spacer plate thing that fills it up. But that means you need to get in there with a screwdriver, because it comes with a little tiny screw with a little oval looking washer that it interfaces with the block that usually is standard on AKs for putting on the pistol grip. The rear trunnion, basically the same as most Kalashnikovs, nothing too fancy on Hungarians, not a lot of engraving or anything. They use the small mags. I guess we can take a look at that in a minute. But let's get to that barrel, since that's the other most distinguishing feature, I think, on an AMD is the length of barrel. So we'll grab this front end from a AMD or AKM M63, and it's a standard 16-inch barrel. You can see if we line them up here with their chambers and their rear sight blocks in line, there's about an inch or so missing from the gas tube on the AMD65. Otherwise, they use the same gas block as the other Hungarians. Get that to focus, and the front sight block, you can see, is exactly the same. So same parts, just a different barrel length and a different gas tube length. So again, the standard AK is going to have wood on the top handguard. The AKM has nothing. Has the painted skeletonized metal handguard. It'll just come up and give it that distinctive front end. So you can see from here how much shorter it would be. It's kind of deceptive with that muzzle brake on the front, but it's not quite a pistol, but I think they're about a 10-inch barrel. They've got a pretty short overall length. Makes them an interesting gun for vehicle or maybe inside a building, and just if you're carrying it a lot, it makes it a lot. It's amazing how much just that little bit of front end weight removed, how much more maneuverable it can make it. I don't have the muzzle brake for this one, not sure where that's at, but you'll notice there are no bayonet lugs on an AMD65. Of course, makes it incompatible with the bayonet. Physically it just wouldn't fit on there, so they didn't bother to do any kind of attachment point. This is your standard Hungarian Type 2 Bayo with this interface with the standard AKM. Alright, so that's the AMD65. Tried to look at some of the things that make it similar and different to some of the other AKs that are out there. One of the things I guess I missed was, because of the folding stock, like any folding stock of any country, it means that their cleaning kit has to be stowed with their gear. So their cleaning kit is just the standard metal capsule thing that would normally go in the stock, but goes in the pouch on the mag carrier, oiler on the other side in its own little pocket, and then they've got a buckle, and I guess this is vinyl, or maybe it's leather, but I think it's just vinyl. And again, they use these short 20 round mags. I guess the idea is that when you've got the handguard up front there, it's a little tough to get a 30 round mag in, but not so bad to get the 20 rocked in and out. So that's the AMD65 Hungarian Kalashnikov, and let us know in the comments if you've got any other questions about it, or if you'd like to see videos on any more specifics about it. I imagine we could talk further in the AK47 Guru podcast if you'd like to talk more specifically about Hungarian Kalashnikovs and the bayonets that go with them. We can definitely do that. Be interested, as always, to talk Hungarian Kalashnikovs. They're pretty interesting, and they've had a long history. So again, let us know in the comments what you think. And as always, thanks for watching.